And then I see families and children where they come home and see that their possessions have been put out on the street because they've been cheated out of their house, and their mother crying on the corner. And they see that 30 years of wealth that's been built up in a home has basically been stolen away. And it makes me feel like everything I have preached for 30 years is a lie. So while it's true that we must love our enemies, sometimes it's true that we have to stop them first. I want to conclude by telling you that I think I have the best job in America. Yes, it's true that I've had death threats from the Klan in some of the neighborhoods where we work. And yes, it's true I've had death threats from drug dealers in neighborhoods where we're working to clean up the home ownership situation. And I have recently been told by the payday lending industry, you guys know what payday lenders are? They make short-term loans for 400% annual interest rate. They are the modern-day loan sharks. And we drove them out of North Carolina. They're not here anymore. And they told me, they said, Martin, we consider you our #1 enemy in the world. Well, I was raised in this faith tradition that says you don't get proud about anything. But I got to tell you, that's as close to being proud as I've ever been. And they said, we're going to spend $10 million to destroy you personally. I'm like, I'm only worth about $10. What you going to do with the rest of the money? But I really believe that happiness and meaning comes from service to others. And I have had the privilege of having tens of thousands of families that have let me walk with them, sometimes in pain, sometimes sharing their pain. But I've been able to walk with them. And I've had these people tell me that, Martin, we love you. We'd take a bullet for you. And then I sort of smile and I say, you know, the other half of the world would say, could we provide the bullet for we could equalize this. So my message is for those of you who have wealth and invest it with those of us who will use it well. And for you students who are here as you go forth into business or academia or government or nonprofits, is my hope is that you will just be there for the little people, not in a grandiose or important way, but just being there on that day, your day, when someone who really needs you and you have the opportunity to step forward. So that's my message. Thank you for all of you who have supported us over these years. I can't tell you how grateful I am, and thank you very much. Maybe we have time for questions. Okay, so everybody who needs to leave, go ahead and leave, and we got 10 minutes of questions. If anybody dares. Is that you can't understand race in America without understanding wealth in America? That one of the things that people don't really understand is that wealth is one of the very few things that gets translated from one generation to the next, so that literally the privileges or the detriments of the grandfather can be visited on the children. And so wealth has a persistence that is really amazing. Lauren. In 1999 and 2000, the worst of the predatory mortgage lenders, we and others helped drive out of business. United Companies, Green Tree Financial, Associates, they're all gone. But it didn't make any difference. If you don't set some boundary, the problem is that policy is boring. You know, you can be an extremist and say, let's regulate everything. But that won't work. You really can kill off a business. And you can be an extremist on the other side that says, the free markets will solve all problems. Let's just let them do their work. They're both equally idiotic. But the boring middle is that you need, like a soccer game, to have rules placed on the boundaries. And I tell people, if you had a soccer match where one team got to have guns and knives and use them, they're going to win. They're going to win. And so you have to have these boundary rules that don't intrude on the field. You don't let the referees kick the ball or play, but you must have boundary rules or you cannot have a civilized market. And so we're not there yet. I mean, the Federal Reserve Board, which I have been preaching and testifying in Congress, I bet I've done it 10 or 20 times now, saying the Federal Reserve Board has the legal authority to have stopped the devastation that we currently are seeing, and they never did it. Their ideology blinded them so much that they were not willing to step forward and say, poor people don't need to have a prepayment penalty that stops them from getting out of a bad loan into a good loan. It's ludicrous. They wouldn't do it. Now we've got a new regime there. I've met with them. They promise they're going to put some rules in place that will not allow the really bad stuff to come forward. And I want to be really optimistic about that, but I do believe in verifying. Who else?
As a consumer, I want to find out what it is home loan or loan financing don't have sustainable practices or involved practice. That's why it's obviously the one that comes in one time. But
Do a web search. I mean, that's the beauty of the web now. You should at least check our website. The www.responsiblelending.org is the website for the Center for Responsible Lending. And there's a ton of information on there about bad companies. Tim, do you have suggestions? There are companies that I'll bet that the Social Investment Forum and others have challenged. Yeah, I mean, one of the things people, when they think about who don't know socially responsible investing, they think that only means to get out of a firm that's doing bad practices. And often getting out is not the right strategy, because the best strategy is to be an irritant and to take resolutions to the board. And really the only disinfectant for bad practices is sunshine. And so anything that allows you to bring sunshine to a bad company. And so there should be different companies. You just got to research them. I mean, there's a website called Countrywide Sucks. You know, you probably get an idea, but it has is thousands of stories of people who got hurt, who write and tell their stories on there.
Why are people drawn to subprime loans?
So subprime loans, in theory, should be a good thing. Like I said, that's what self-help did. We made loans to people who didn't meet the standard formula for a home loan. And that's a good thing. It helps provide access to credit to people who never got there, who never could get a home. The problem is that in a totally unregulated, the strong take from the weak, the system that we've had for the last 10 years or longer, is you can't get a safe term. You can't get to a product that is safe in the subprime market today. 80% of the loans made in the subprime mortgage market today are what I would call per se predatory. They're terrible. So I'm not arguing that we should get rid of it. It just should be done the right way. And so it used to be, when I started 25 years ago, the civil rights issue of the day was access to credit for people of modest means or families of color. Now the civil rights issue of our time is the terms of that credit, that if you are given loans, and there is a reason, and I'm preaching now, there is a reason that every religion in the world has prohibited usury. Every single one. They have known that credit or debt is a unique product. It is one of the only products that can get you deeper in bondage, deeper in a hole, simply with the passage of time. Now, does that mean we should have no debt? Some religions say that. But every religion says that this is a uniquely dangerous product that we have to have some sort of governance over. So the alternative is really to just clean up what we have, not prohibit it. This is not like payday lending. Payday lending you cannot reform. At 400% interest rate, there's nothing to do but put it out of its misery. It has to be prohibited. It's just, it won't work. But subprime mortgage lending can be productive and fruitful if it's done the right way. So we just need to put some boundary rules in place. Get two more. One more. Well, we were real involved in all of those bills, and we think that they will be pretty effective. What we did was we said for subprime loans defined as higher cost in their interest rate, you can't have prepayment penalties that would charge, the average prepayment penalty on a subprime loan now equals or exceeds the median wealth of the median Black or Latino family. So if you pay off a loan that is a bad loan, in order to get to a better loan, you will lose the median amount of family wealth. So we prohibited that in the bill for subprime loans. We also mandated that you have to have an escrow for taxes and insurance. One of the games that was done with subprime mortgages is they would market that this payment will be 20% lower than the home loan you currently have. But they weren't including the taxes and insurance that you have to pay on a monthly basis for the loan. So at the end of a year or at the end of 6 months, the borrower doesn't have the money, they have to refinance, and they get charged another $10,000 in fees. So we required that. I mean, it's a really, when you get inside it, it is really a cynically dirty business practices. So we're hopeful. I mean, that bill was something that we worked really hard to get passed. Romy, and then we're finished.
What is it going to take to convince these subprime lenders to enact refi or modify loans? And we've talked a lot as some folks about how nobody's responsible and there's all these tranches that are sold out. So how is it feasible that someone like Country West can
I don't think they will do it voluntarily. So, I mean, it's a really uphill fight right now given the Congress that we have. But for the last 12 months, I have worked with all of the major, and Self-Help and CRL have worked with the major loan servicers of subprime loans nationally. And they originally stated, here are the three major problems that prevent us from being able to modify home loans and make them sustainable, such as getting rid of this exploding payment in the third year, the monthly payment. And we have eliminated all three of those problems. We have solved all three of those problems. And there was a report just last week that said for the 4 to 5 million borrowers, families who are facing this catastrophic foreclosure risk, they're not going to get any help. The study a week ago released said that 1% of the people who had this huge payment shock have gotten modifications to make it sustainable. The other 99% are being foreclosed. So I have given up on the voluntary option, and what we have put forward, which is a really quite clever bill in Congress, is a bill that would say, as a last resort, under Chapter 13, which is one of the chapters of bankruptcy, that a home loan can be modified in bankruptcy involuntarily, but with a judge overseeing that it's a fair process. And we have the entire mortgage industry saying, and what you probably would never, you wouldn't know it if you're not a techie like me, is that home loans are the only asset that cannot be protected in Chapter 13 bankruptcy. If you're rich enough to own a second home or investment property or a vacant lot or an RV, every one of those loans can go into a Chapter 13 bankruptcy and be modified to make it sustainable long term. But the only exception, the only thing in the bankruptcy code that is not permitted to be modified, is a loan against your personal residence, your primary personal residence. The most utterly ridiculous policy, but as one member of a very, very large company told me privately. He says, well, we've got all this bargaining power. We can say to the borrower, either you pay this loan or we can kick you into the street, because foreclosure is the only option. Why are we going to give that up voluntarily? And I'm thinking, I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to except to say, Tim, go get them. But it's not going to happen voluntarily. It's going to have to take a rule that allows these loans to get restructured on a bulk basis, because we got 4 to 5 million people who are facing a shock to their monthly payment that will put them in desperate straits. Will have them lose their home if nothing else happens. We've predicted that 2+ million families will lose their homes because of this lending crisis, which is a ton. Okay, thank you very much. Good to see you.